Hello, welcome to Adding by Whole Numbers by Lucia.
Alexandira,
Ava Easton,
and Madisen Vasquez.
Let's start with talking about the importance of a growth mindset. First off, the definition. This is basically the idea that you're not stuck with the skills that you have now and you can always build upon them. Teachers should utilize this in their classroom to encourage students to embrace challenges, learn from mistakes, and develop resilience, allowing them to get the best learning experience possible. Applying this mindset to math helps students become more open minded and overcome fears or stigmas surrounding the concept as a whole. How we would utilize this in a classroom. You could always start the day off positive with daily affirmations and phrases. Make sure to encourage your students. You can celebrate when they get a problem right after they were struggling with it and overcome any other obstacles. When a student is struggling, you can try different strategies with them, maybe take a step back and break down the problem again, really give them that one on one time that they need. And then lastly, you have to stay focused. You have to know that the main goal is to promote learning, not just getting the answers right or wrong.
Now, when adding whole numbers, some common misconceptions may occur, including counting on my fingers is the only way to add numbers together. Students may think that when adding two numbers, counting on their fingers is the only and easiest way to do so. This misconception can be fixed by introducing new strategies of adding. This can be done through worksheets, Desmos activities, and math videos. Some different types of methods of adding can include the number line, tens frames, and physical objects like cubes. Now for common misconception number 2, I must always begin at 1 when adding numbers together. When students are given an equation like 4 plus 2, they might think the only way of solving this is to start from 1 and keep adding by 1 till they reach the number 6. For instance, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, the 1 plus 1. This misconception can be fixed by using the number line more frequently. This will provide students with a quicker way of solving an addition equation. For example, starting at 4, then going forward 2, plan on 6. And here on the number line, we can see it starts at 4 and we jump to 6. Now for number 3, the answer won't change if I mix up the addition and subtraction sign. When students are learning both addition and subtraction, they might forget which sign is which. When doing this, their final solution will be different than the actual answer. An example of this would be 4 plus 3 equals 1, when the finished equation should actually look like 4 plus 3 equals 7. A way to fix this misconception would be providing students with worksheets and activities to help them get more familiar with both signs.
Moving on to day 1, I will start with positive affirmations, such as I am a problem solver, I learn more math every day, and finally, I am in charge of my learning. Positive affirmations are great to help encourage students since you're introducing them to new and different things. I will then spend a portion of the class going over and introducing the topic of adding whole numbers together. To start, I would ask a warm-up question, what is addition? After having some students answer, I would then tell them the correct answer, which is addition is putting two numbers together to find a sum. I would then show them an anchor chart as shown on the right and ask them questions like how many strategies do you know or recognize? What does the word add mean? And finally, will your answer be bigger or smaller than your two numbers that you are adding together? Continuing on, I would go into addition terms, and I would show them a problem such as the one on the right, 3 plus 4 equals 7. I would label the addends, which is a number that you are adding together, the plus sign, which means to add or put two numbers together, and finally, the sum, which is the answer to an addition problem. After introducing what addition is, I would go into the first learning strategy, which is adding with blocks. I would start by giving them the problem 4 plus 6 equals blank. I would have them start by grabbing 4 blue blocks because that is our first addend given in the equation. After that, I would have them grab 6 red blocks. This is our second addend in the equation. Lastly, I would have them group both the red and blue blocks together to get the final sum. When we add 4 plus 6, we get 10 blocks altogether. After spending some time giving them more examples, I would then have the class try it on their own by writing 4 problems up on the whiteboard and asking 4 students to volunteer to complete the problems up at the board. This would take around 15 to 20 minutes to complete.
After the students had completed the equations on the board, we would go over any misconceptions or questions that they had on this part of the lesson before moving on to the next. The next thing we would be introducing is the number line. First, I would start off by saying, what is a number line? Then I would ask how many numbers are on this line and what can number lines be used for. I'd have a couple kids volunteer some answers and it would start the conversation. Then I would go into more depth on how to use it. So we'd start with the equation 1 plus 2. We'd start at 1 and then we'd jump 2 times to the right because we are adding. And then the number we land on would be our answer. I'd make sure that the children are familiar with this concept. We might do another couple questions with different numbers on the board and then make sure that everybody's comfortable with it. From there, we would go on to the next 10 minutes of class would be individual or group work. They would click this link on the slide and they would work on the 4 questions that I created on Desmos. And then at the end of class, we'd have the last 5 minutes dedicated to any questions they had on their group work. This is what it would look like if you click the link. If you click the link, it'll take you to this page that I created, and it has a couple questions there and instructions to further explain if they missed anything on the last slide.
To start day 2, we'll start off with some more positive affirmations. The first one being, I am a problem solver. The second one, I learn more math every day. And the third, I am in charge of my learning. And then to continue with day 2, we'll have a warm-up. So the warm-up will consist of me asking the class a few questions. The first one being having some volunteers give me 2 things that they learned from the previous day about addition, and then what was their favorite way to add and what was your least favorite way to add. And this should take about 5 to 10 minutes of warm-up. And then continuing into more addition strategies, we'll be introducing tens frames. This is a tens frame. It will always have 10 spaces, 5 on top and 5 on the bottom. Students fill boxes left to right according to addition problems. Once the top row is full, students will move to the bottom row. For example, 5 plus 4, you would start by filling in 4 squares, then 5 more to get a total of 9 squares filled in. And then for tens frames with bigger numbers, so 1 through 20, we can also use 2 tens frames and have a total of 20. So when adding numbers with a sum larger than 10, you would move to the next tens frame and continue filling in the spaces until you have completed your problem. For example, 12 plus 3, you would fill in 10 spaces in the first rectangle and then 5 more in the next rectangle, which would give you a total of 15 spaces filled in. For the next 20 minutes of class, students will learn this method of adding tens frames, and the class will work in groups on practice problems. For the next strategy that they'll learn, it's drawing pictures. So drawing pictures is another way to learn addition. When drawing pictures, you learn to add by using more visuals. It is similar to using blocks because students can see the adding of the numbers. Visuals show what adding the numbers together can physically look like. It can also be more fun for students because they get to be more creative while learning. For working as a class, in this worksheet example we have right here, they draw a number of apples on the tree and then a number of apples on the other, and then they'll count how many apples on the tree in total. Students would spend the next 15 or so minutes learning this method of addition and continue practicing with the class on more problems while drawing the pictures. And then for our final 10 minutes of class, Students will be tasked with independent work assigned with this given worksheet. There will be a few practice problems for them to use the tens frame or draw pictures to solve them.
In all, we hope that students walk into this class with an open mindset when learning how to add whole numbers from 1 to 20, especially when running into some common misconceptions, such as counting on fingers is the only way to add numbers together, always having to begin at 1 when adding, and mixing addition and subtraction signs. We also hope students successfully gain knowledge on the 4 methods of adding, which include blocks, tens frames, drawings, and the number line. Thank you.
Thank you.